Welcome back to First Take. Speaking of New York, coming to you live from the Seaport District at Pier 17, brought to you by Chase. NBA champion Kendrick Perkins joining the debate. But Stephen Hay, you know I am coming to you. How do you feel about the Knicks selecting Obi with the 8th pick?
Well, I'll confess that listen, I like Obi. The brother's a Skywalker. He averaged 20 a game in college. His last season in college, in the 2 years that he was there, it was like 14 and then 20. Last year, on nearly 70% shooting, nearly 40% shoot from three-point range. The brother's got game. I like him. I don't think it was a bad pick. My issue with the New York Knicks is that it's a guard-oriented game. You need to elevate your level of guard play. Knowing Tom Thibodeau the way that we should know him by now, guard play is essential to anything that he wants to do. And you had that kid Tyrese Halliburton there. Now, if you're the New York Knicks, here's the argument that you've made to me within the last 24 hours. Stephen A., watch what we're doing. Obi Toppin was arguably the best talent in the draft. We didn't expect him to fall to number 8. You remember, he was projected to be picked in the top 5. But he got picked at number 8. Number 2, this brother, they think, got a better outside shot than Halliburton. He's clearly more athletic. Number 3, they're looking at a deal after that. It's not fully guaranteed. It's only partially guaranteed to my understanding. All right, Bobby Porter's got a player option. You traded Marcus Morris in that 3-team deal, and you got a first-round pick because of it. So their mentality is that this dude has the potential, a Brooklyn native, Brooklyn born and bred. This Brooklyn native who's a Skywalker, who could be box office, we now have at the Garden. My issue with the New York Knicks is I respect that. I understand it. My problem is, my only problem, has nothing to do, I hope he's watching, nothing against Obi Toppin whatsoever. I know the kid's got promise, potential, he can play. I got love for him. My issue is that with the New York Knicks, you really, really needed guard play. And Halliburton, according to all the aficionados, was that guard. It's not about the player himself, his skill set. I just didn't think that was what they needed more than they needed a guard. I hope I'm wrong.
I think it was a natural pick for the Knicks. I agree about Halliburton. Like, in a draft where I'm not sure about anybody, Halliburton was the safest pick. He's going to be a nice player, at least, if not a very, very good one. So maybe part of the Knicks' problems is they don't just take the guy that absolutely will be pretty good.
Injury to a leg of Klay Thompson.
This is nightmarish.
Yeah.
This is nightmarish. All championship hopes are out the window.
Conference Finals and NBA Finals contender. But fellas, hang on. Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin presented by Progressive Insurance. Bart Scott in. Jay Williams will be here at 8 a.m. Eastern time, fresh off the draft last night, which we'll talk about in a bit. Get his thoughts on Klay. But guys, any way you slice it, you heard Brian Windhorst. You heard Stephen A. Smith. 519 days. You could look at it that way. You could look at it as 17 months. You could look at it as 1 year and 5 months. I'm talking about the last time Klay Thompson played a basketball game. The last time we saw him limping off the court, Game 6, 2019 NBA Finals, left ACL. The latest news we hear, 519 days later, a little over a month away from the start of the season, a right leg injury suffered in a workout yesterday. Steve Kerr, team trainers, on the way to Los Angeles as we find out more. Fellas, this is nothing short, Key, of a gut punch.
It really is. I feel bad for Klay, having known him and his father and his entire family. It's just one of those tough situations. A guy has been sitting on the sideline for 17 months just waiting to clamor to get back to December 22nd when the start of the NBA season starts back up to taking the floor. It certainly is derailing in terms of his basketball career and how long he's waited to get back on the court. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people look at it and say, well, there goes the Warriors' NBA championship hopes for this upcoming season. I never really, in all honesty, never really thought that about an NBA title for them. You got 2 players coming off major injuries. They got to get back in the fold. That's a long ways off. You still got an opportunity to be a strong playoff contender, a push-type team to get in there. But I never really felt like they were going to unseed the Lakers or unseed potentially Brooklyn or even, for that matter, another team that's right in L.A. and the Clippers. So, you know, when I look at it, it's just another one of those setbacks for the Golden State Warriors and their fans.
Key, you might be the only one in the world that thought that they weren't going to be move to the top of the pack. You know, you talk about with Wiggins, I always assumed that maybe Wiggins was going to be a piece that they can trade and they're going to go get another player that complements them best. But also, you know, I wonder yesterday, how did the injury that broke right before the draft affected their draft? Because I thought that maybe, you know, that pick in Wiggins would have been on the move for like another Bradley Beal or another superstar to come in. Like with Clay coming back, even before Durant came, I believe that they were one of the best teams, and they've won championships. Now, I understand that their bench have taken a hit. No Livingston, no Iguodala. You know, those were the guys that I think were the glue guys that really were the bridge when they were really going. The fact that they had length at certain positions and they had defensive versatility. But, I mean, when you talk about Clay, you talk about Curry, you know, I thought they were ready to serve notice that they were back, and I'm sure they had receipts for everybody that was kicking them while they were down. But as far as a talent-wise, I mean, you add Wiggins, that's a big three. You know, I know Wiggins is a guy that, you know, is a slasher. He's untapped potential. Everybody's waiting for him to take that next step to be a superstar. But when you talk about the spacing that those two provide, two of the best shooters in the game, you know, it opens everything up. And Wiseman at 7'1", being that unicorn, you know, being that Bogut. When we've seen, you know, Golden State dominate, it's been because they had those type of players to fill those roles. Like now, I just wonder, you know, what they're going to do, and are they going to be proactive out in free agency? I mean, I think the NBA is front and center right now, and I mean, it can't be in a better spot. You know, you got the draft last night, you got free agency tomorrow. I wonder how Clay injury and what these results of this MRI affects what they do moving forward. But I thought they were absolutely top three in the West, you know, when you talk about bringing back a player the caliber of Clay.
When you look at Zubin, you look at what they've done in the past prior to getting Kevin Durant, much like Bart said, it's true, they were a very obviously NBA championship caliber team, but that was so many years ago. Hey, you know, everybody's a little bit older now. You still got Draymond Green on the team, but Draymond Green is not even the same Draymond Green that he was 2 to 3 years ago. It's totally different now. And I know we always want to make sure that we root for the champions and we're part of the championships and all these sort of things when it comes to Golden State, because we like Curry, we like Clay personally, but when you look into the deep parts of the basketball realm, the Lakers certainly went out and got Schroeder, which is a big major move. They've already gotten Anthony Davis, who's going to re-sign with the Lakers. LeBron James is there, and I'm sure they're going to make a couple more moves along the way. So when you look at that, the Clippers free agency starts tomorrow. I'm sure they're going to make 1 or 2 moves. You know, everybody else within the conference. Houston's not done yet, whatever that is. So as you start to just look at things unfold, this is why I say I never really felt as though they were getting ready to challenge those teams at the top to come out of the West to play somebody out of the East.
A few things here just to quickly mention before we get a little perspective from Brian Windhorst, which is really interesting. Number one, Bob Myers, the team's GM, said, look, there was an additional stress on me last night. There's no way I can't say that. I was really thinking about Clay while thinking about the draft. League-wide response was immediate. LeBron tweeting, praying a lot. Klay Thompson is cool like it's super minor. We'll hope that is indeed the case. Draymond Green, prayers up for my brother. And then James Wiseman, who became the latest member of the Warriors just a couple hours after the news, essentially saying as soon as I saw the news, it was kind of down for me emotionally. But as a team, we've got to get his back no matter what, and he's going to be in great recovery. Going on to say, all praise be to Clay, my teammate. He's going to be just fine. Now, the one thing Key mentioned is the NBA season is starting December 22nd. There were some people that thought it might start in January, could even maybe start around Martin Luther King Day. Some people were saying it could start in March because that would have fans a better chance to get there if a vaccine is approved, tour in the pipeline. But with it being starting on December 22nd, just 71 days from an offseason after Key's Lakers hoisted the championship to opening night, truncated, Key's favorite word, truncated offseason. We're going to start earlier than expected. Brian Windhorst is saying maybe Clay had an expedited recovery and it might have cost him a little bit.
Klay Thompson has been in Los Angeles ramping up trying to get ready for the start of the season. You know, he did have a lot of time with recovering from that left ACL, but he hadn't gotten much court time, and he didn't play full out when the Warriors had their training camp in the fall. And so here we have all of a sudden the beginning of the season about a month sooner than everybody was expecting. So Klay Thompson has been down in LA, from what I understand, for over a week, running in these games with other NBA players, and suffers an injury today.
You know, I don't know if it was sped up. 17 months is a really long time to recover, no matter what it is for an ACL. 17 months. Yeah. This is not 1979. So the ACL injuries with the medicine that we deal with in today's society is like that, Zubin.
Boom.
You know, you can get back in fashion. What happens in people that kind of know about ACLs, who have had a history with ACLs, have been around a lot of ACLs, certainly could tell when a person is compensating and what an injury is. It's the left leg, you're compensating, so most likely you're going to hurt something on your right side of your body. It doesn't necessarily have to be the leg. It could be the hip. It could be just something because your alignment's off. For whatever reason, that's the history of ACLs. Many guys will tell you that have had ACLs that they've had to compensate and something's gone wrong. Whether it's a hamstring, just a little tweak here or there, it's always that with compensating.
Yeah, it knocks off the balance, right? You know, I had reconstructive surgery on my big toe, so now I have tendonitis in my left, in my right. I had reconstructive surgery on my right toe. Mm-hmm. I have tendonitis on my left leg because it changes the gait, and you don't realize that it changes the way you do things. That's why it's important that you make sure that your body's in alignment. Everybody that's an athlete understands that you know what happens is it changes the way your body fires, your hamstring don't fire all of a sudden, and you have to be careful. You know, this is to me, until we get the results from the MRI. You know, I think we just hold our breath, but I wonder what that does when they get that information as far as how aggressive they're going to be. Because I know we have Bobby Marks on a little later, and I would love to talk to him and figure out, because I never believed that Wiggins was a long-term solution there. I thought that was a contract that they did so that they can move and package maybe Wiseman and Wiggins together to get